Well, hello, Dennis Lembry, my friend. We've known
Yes,
each other for many a year.
the
Um,
mighty Steve Faulkner.
yeah, we've been around the traps together for many a year. In fact, met you many times over the years at CSUN and
Yeah.
Access VTO and other places. And
I wish we never were really able to spend too much time together, although we met many.
well, let's
We'll have to hang out more next time.
yeah, your screen's gone off, by the way.
Oops.
Yeah, so next time we meet, we will sit down and have a nice, well, yeah, we'll have hopefully a
A pint.
longer and more fruitful conversation we have today, not saying that it will not be fruitful. So, Dennis, tell us about your career and what you've been doing. When did you start in accessibility?
I started 2001. I was
Same time as me. But you're obviously much younger than me, so that's you've got that going.
a few years maybe.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was
you
well,
haven't got great hair, mate.
thanks. I was kind of in and out of accessibility a little bit. I've been doing it from 2001. If my full-time job wasn't around digital accessibility, I was still doing it on the side. But yeah, it started because I worked for a company in Orlando, Florida, that did web-based training. Um,
Right.
they used to do like CD-ROM like training things, and I was their first like web developer. And they had a lot of government contracts, and that was the year when Section 508 became enacted. And so they said, Dennis, learn this Section 508 stuff, and we need to do it. And that's how I got started. And I just found it really uh, valuable, but also a lot of crossover with usability and web standards and everything. And I was hooked up
Yep.
since then. So
Excellent.
yeah,
So you started there, but then you've worked for loads of different companies, haven't you? Well, not loads.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, you. I know that you were at DQ, you were at PayPal.
Yeah.
Where else have you worked?
PayPal for 2.5 or 3 years. I was on the accessibility team with Victor Saran, and a couple other good folks. Then I moved to eBay for like a year, and I helped lead the effort there. Then yeah, DQ Systems, 10 years at DQ, altogether almost 7 years. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and then I worked for almost 2 years under Joe Devon at Diamond. Uh, yeah,
What happened with that?
Diamond went under.
Oh, right.
The company
Not due to
folded.
you though, but
I hope not.
hopefully.
I hope not due to me. Um, but it was a good run, and yeah, I went back to DQ, and now I'm at GitHub. So I've been at GitHub for almost 2.5 years, going on 2.5 years as this
And you're
senior.
working with who else works there? I always going to say Carrie Fisher, but it's Shelley
Yeah,
Fisher, isn't it?
Carrie
Is it
Fisher.
Shelley? Is it?
Carrie,
It is Carrie Fisher.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We're on the same team. It's a small team of senior program accessibility managers. Maria Lamardo and Ed Summers is our manager. He's the head of accessibility at GitHub.
And where does the duplicitous Eric Bailey sit in this?
He is a um, accessibility designer. We have two or three of those folks, so it's on the wider team, and there's some accessibility engineers, um, and so between them and us, that kind of makes up accessibility folks at the company.
So how are you dealing with the AI-ification of code?
Uh, Personally, I struggle with it a little bit. Um, I see the
Are
benefit,
you,
some of the benefits, but there's a lot of downfalls, and
yeah. Are
um,
you you're encouraged to use AI,
absolutely.
but you're not, it's not like a KPI, is it? Key performance indicator or whatever, you have to.
I hope I hope not. We'll
Oh well,
see. We'll see.
yeah.
I guess.
I'll just ask your boss. How's Dennis go?
It's a touchy
Uh,
subject.
yeah, no, I understand it, and I understand it's difficult, but it's it's a double-edged sword or
Yeah,
triple-edged sword, isn't it? Because it's interesting, and it's an interesting area of research and use. I freely admit I use AI on occasion. I It's not in my general day-to-day workflow, but it does help me when I can't do because I'm crap at programming. Like writing something like Python or whatever, I can't do it. I know that you are much more accomplished in the development of stuff because didn't you? Well,
somewhat.
you could string things together pre-AI, where
I've I've been there, done that. I mean, I've been trying to get away from the development side, if I can. Doesn't seem like it's
so
you know.
what does your job consist of day to day now?
Oh, geez. Uh,
What you can talk about?
yeah. So I can talk about generally what I do.
Yeah.
Mostly what I do is I run the audits, um, all of the audits for the company. Um,
And this is just for a third party
well,
provider.
we use a third party vendor, yeah, to do the actual testing. Um,
And how useful is that?
it's pretty good. It
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, when I came in, it was a bit of a mess because there was some turnover and the quality wasn't up to par. So yeah, so I got it all in order. You know, we audit um by services within the
Yeah.
company. Yeah, so I'm ramping up the number of services we audit, and trying to get the quality is, improve continuously improve the quality. But then I also do the governance part stuff. So like I'm in charge of the weekly grading and the reports and all that jazz. So
Excellent.
there's a lot of, yeah, complexities and headaches to come with all that, but it's coming along pretty well. And I have a good helper, Arissa Duval, who's a contractor that's been helping me, and she's been doing a great job. So it's coming along.
So are you line management as well, or is just artificial help?
She actually officially reports to me. The this testing team, they they all unofficially report to me. They report to Ed on the on paper, but
Yeah, but you
yeah,
deal with the day to day.
but I manage that team and the
So
contract.
it's sort of like project management sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of program project management stuff.
Now, I wanted to ask you about your time at DQ because I just remember, and I was quite shocked by it. I just remember that you were at CSUN and I went to their social and you weren't invited. And I asked you why at the time. I was just thinking it's because it just seemed odd to me that they were having a reception and their staff weren't invited.
Oh, I remember
It's
now.
just something I wouldn't do.
Yeah, I think it was more of a sales thing, and I
Yeah,
think they just
yeah,
wanted
that's
to,
why I got invited. Yeah, because they
yeah,
wanted to sell me nothing.
yeah.
Well, I wasn't going to buy anything. I'd have a few drinks, but um, yeah, no, it was just I thought it was a bit odd. That's all. Um, because it just just didn't seem like
Well,
uh, the way to treat people that work for you. But you
Yeah,
don't work there anymore, so anyway.
we don't want to go there.
Yeah.
We all know DQ does great things, but we all know they've done a few not so great things. So we don't need to go
Yeah, well,
details, but I think most people know what I'm talking about.
yeah. Man, a few words. Now, I want to apologize to you because in another um, fireside chat, I was recalling how I saw this was, I don't know how many years ago, at CSUN, and we were up in a reception that was when it's still TPG days, and I think that Mike Paciello had a reception in his room, and I was there, and you were there, and I was implying that you look coked up, um, which is always stuck in my head. But I know you weren't. It was just me being an ass and frivolous. So I just want to apologise to besmirch your good name and nature
Oh, okay.
because yeah, I don't think you're a drug addict, but
I don't touch the hard stuff.
no, nor do I. Smoke a little dope, but that's. Where are you living now? Talking of dope smoking,
I live outside of Raleigh, North Carolina.
and is it legal in North Carolina?
No,
No, that's
well,
where Mike lives there as well.
who?
Mike Paciello lives in. I think he lives in North Carolina now, or maybe
Yeah,
South Carolina.
did he move here like a
Yeah,
year or two ago or something?
yeah. After his wife died and he
Yeah.
got remarried and he moved somewhere. I think it's either south or north. I mean,
Huh.
that's just or Carolina, but I know it is Carolina. That's as good as my American geography goes.
So I'm about, let's see, Washington, D.C. is about 4 or 5 hour drive.
All right, so it's quite a distance there. Do you ever go to Enabling?
Once I went.
I
Yeah.
went once as well. Got myself a picture outside the White House with Leone. Um,
Oh, that's good. You got before it got ruined.
yeah, yeah, it's quite a nice shot. Well, apart from the fact there's a picture of me, it's a nice photo. Uh,
Nice.
so previously, I mean, you've done lots of things. One of them being Easy Chirp, obviously laid to rest now.
Yep, for a few years now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a
That's a long story. But yeah, so I
yeah,
started Easy Trip. I'll give you the
yeah.
15-second review. I started accessible Twitter 2009. Then a few years later, they completely revamped the API, so I had to completely rebuild it. So I did that, made it. It looks similar, but it was really subtle differences in the UI, and the back end was completely different.
What was that built using?
Uh, some PHP framework. A lot of the name escapes me now.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But like
PHP.
a MAMP kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm a big PHP fan. But yeah, so then I changed the name to Easy Chirp, and then a few years later, uh, they yeah they they closed the API and everything, and that was it.
nice. Do you and what social media do you prefer now or do you use?
I was getting a little burned out on social media and getting frustrated, with all the corporate takeovers and all that. So
Yeah,
I mostly use Mastodon. That's my main one, and then I'm using LinkedIn more.
yeah. It's funny though, isn't it? I mean, I just put all the same old crap that I put everywhere else.
Yeah,
But yeah, with a slightly more professional flavor.
I mean, I'm staying away from the others for two reasons, I guess. A few reasons. Just like I said, I'm kind of burned out on it. and like the whole corporate stuff, you know, and it's just kind of turned me off.
That's why
I don't have the time, you know, I don't have the time to do what I used to do either, you know.
yeah, no, I understand. I mean, I stayed on Twitter for quite a while because I had 11,000 followers, and it was a bit hard for my ego to give up. But
Yeah.
eventually I did a couple of years ago, and I've been using Blue Sky and Mastodon, and as you say, LinkedIn. What I've recently done is I've switched over my hosting provider on Blue Sky to Eurosky, and I use the Euro client now called moo.social.
Oh,
So the client is EU only. Well, EU only as in it comes from the EU. It's not owned by a particular corporation. The
that's
infrastructure
cool.
that supports it, Eurosky is the same, digital sovereignty. Yeah, it is. So, I mean, I've just started to get into it a little bit, this European sovereignty stuff, because of the things that have been happening in the States, and that the wool can be pulled, the rug can be pulled from under you at any point in time
Yeah,
if
really.
you're not, somebody was telling me, oh no, it was, yeah, because I spoke to this guy, Robin Bergeron. I don't know if you know of him.
Mm-mm.
But I've known him for many years because he was he worked at the W3C at the time that I was editing it, and I was one of the editors of the HTML5 spec, and he was a co-editor as well. I got to know him then, but since working at the W3C, it's like I hadn't spoke to him in 12, 15 years. No,
Mm.
12 years. And he's been working in privacy at the New York Post, and then he's been doing other stuff, but now he's essentially involved in the promotion of something called Atmospheres Framework, which was one of the things that he's involved in. But essentially, it's about making stuff less reliant on technology, on American technology. One of the things that he told me was, I think it was him anyway. I hope it was him, but he was talking about there's two judges that were working for the International Court of Criminal Justice,
Okay.
and on the question of Palestine. And they both got sanctioned by the US, and everything, all like their bank accounts were shut down, their credit cards, everything, any access to the American monetary system, which is all money flows through, was shut down. So they essentially couldn't get any money,
Oh man.
couldn't use any credit. And I was thinking, bloody hell. Well, hopefully it doesn't happen to you or I, but more like to happen to me than to you. Um, but you never know, do you? Because yeah, if you stick your head above the parapet, that and
Yeah.
this is part of the reason why I won't go to America. So
Yep.
that would yeah, incarcerated. Um,
Oh shit.
yeah.
Yeah. We don't need to go into it. I mean, obviously it's a tragedy what's going on over here. And believe me,
Oh yeah.
I'm
No,
sick
no.
I'm sickened and angered as much as uh, you know, most people are.
Yeah, no. I imagine it's well, from the outside, it looks like a very exhausting and emotionally draining situation, and
Yeah.
that's just for people like you and I that have the benefit of being white and well paid and male and all those things. It's
Yeah.
still like, shit scary stuff, but hopefully it'll end at some point.
Let's hope so. Crossing
Yeah.
fingers.
So what what do you do when you're not doing accessibility, Dennis?
Oh wow.
Do you have a life?
Sort of.
Yeah. Well, you're a parent.
Yeah, I got two boys,
How old are they?
20 and 21.
Wow. I
Yeah,
was just thought they're going to be kids, but
no,
I'm mixing
they
you
grow up
up
fast.
with
They grow
not
up
mixing you up, but I was thinking about Paul Adams because he's got a kid, but he's one kid as far as I know. But he's not. She's not as old as that. Wow,
fast.
Dennis. So
No, so they
your
keep
kids
me
at
busy.
college,
The younger boys in college, yeah.
and
So they keep me busy, and then I got well, I'm married, and then I've got four cats. So
so
I mean,
you've got your kids at home, or they moved out.
they're home right now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I've got two girls, one 17, one 21, and they're both at home. And in fact, we've got my oldest daughter's girlfriend living with us, so we've got extra people in the house instead of all
oh,
you.
okay.
So that's nice. Um,
But mostly lately, I just have to mention since you asked.
yeah, yeah, sure.
I've been playing a lot of bass guitar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the last couple of years. So I play guitar. You know, I'm not the greatest, but I'm okay. For most of my life, I played guitar, but then a couple of years ago, I finally got a bass guitar, and I'm just loving it, and just like learning
So
all.
you play in a band, or you just
No,
play?
I just play like I just learn songs like down in the basement and jam out my songs. So like it's fun. I play along with like anything from like the Smiths to Marilyn Manson to Led Zeppelin to The Cure.
Oh, cool.
A bunch of Chili Peppers, all kinds of stuff. So it's fun.
So why do you bother these days? Why you let AI do it for you?
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the point is to actually use your mind and to learn something and to like have
Well,
fun.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things about is taking is we hand off all this basic um, knowledge and interaction to other to non-humans essentially. Um, okay, so let's switch it up and do the Rogues Gallery.
Ah,
So let me just share this. All right. So you should be able to see it now, the Rose Gallery. I'll make
yes.
it super large for you so you can.
Thank you.
So, first up, top left. Do you know who that is?
I'm gonna have to go with Dr. Swallow.
Yes, Dr. Swallow. He's been working. I was telling because my daughter, one of my youngest daughter works out and she's quite muscular. And I'll say to her, oh, Dave, my friend Dave has been going to the gym as well. Then
Oh
I
yeah,
showed her that picture. I didn't do that. That was Pat for some reason. I can't remember, but every time I see it, it makes me laugh.
you guys are hilarious.
Yeah. Next up,
That's Pat. Love Pat.
yeah, Pat. This is fresh from his his bicycle tour. He's got a bicycle. He's been tinkering with his bike, but he's also been going on these local rides around where he lives in Preston. There's a
Nice.
there's sort of a 21-mile sort of loop that goes around through the countryside of that, and he's been doing that with a group of other people. And
That's
I
cool.
like this photo because it looks like he's getting kicked in the head, which
Another thing about him is he's into photography, right? Because like on
oh
Mastodon,
yeah, I mean he took that
see his
photo.
stuff on Mastodon. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, you should check out his oh, what is it? What's the what the
Instagram.
no, the other one, the old one that's been
Oh,
around.
the one from Yahoo that I quit because they ruined
Yeah,
the
that
youth.
one. whatever it's called, I can't remember, but
Oh my
he's
God.
got thousands and thousands of photos on there. Like he puts stuff up there, but he's like about 5 or 6 years behind. So with he's just because he's just got so many photos and he processes them, chooses the best, sticks some up there. So what you usually see are things that he hasn't he's taken, but he just wanted to show because it'll take him years to actually appear. But also his dad, who recently passed, he took a lot of photos as well, and he's got an Instagram account for his dad's photos, and some really nice photos there as well. He's,
Oh,
you
that's
know,
cool.
yeah, it's really. I mean, I love photos, so that's why I take so many because I just remember things. It's a reminder. So anyway, who's this one? She looks a bit wider than normal because
Is that
I'm not
Glenda?
very good at. Huh?
Is that Glenda?
That's Glenda the Good Witch who appeared on this very podcast a couple of weeks ago, and there she's wearing a funky accessibility shirt that I sent her. So,
Nice, nice.
and Glenda is the Chief Accessibility Information Officer at DQ, which is quite a mouthful.
It's
Um,
quite a
do
title, yeah.
yeah, it's a cool title.
Yeah.
CIAO.
And I when I was at DQ, I did, work with her here and there. And she's just as she's just as enjoyable and nice at work that she is like, you
Well,
know,
that's good. That's
on the
good.
other
I
side.
mean,
Yeah, yeah,
having people that are approachable and friendly and take the time to talk to you is
yeah,
important at work, especially if you're junior or less senior. As well, she's very senior. So,
yeah.
um, who's next? Do you know who this person is?
I do. That's Sarah Higley, right?
Yes, that is Sarah Higley, and that was from a picture which is looks rather pixelated, but it's better. That was from Accessory TO last year. Big A, do crime. I like it. I like the shirt. Um, so Sarah works at Microsoft, so she sort of works at the same company that you do in a way. I mean, I know you work at GitHub, but that's owned by Microsoft now, isn't it? I mean, is there a lot of management crossover or company crossover now?
Not really, no. We're lately the company's been encouraged to work more with Microsoft.
Yep.
They changed a couple of our tools to help. I can't get into details, obviously, but so once in a while, yeah, I might be in a meeting with some Microsoft folks.
Well, yeah, because Scott works there as well, Scott
Yeah,
O'Hara
yeah,
and Aaron Gustafson, who's I'm
yeah,
speaking with in a couple of weeks.
cool.
So yeah,
Yeah.
all he's AI frenzied.
Oh, that's right. He did kind of move over in that area, didn't
Yeah, so I'll be interested to talk to him. Um, bottom left.
he? Is that well, she used to lead Microsoft Accessibility, right? The Jenny Lay Fleury.
Yeah, why is she doesn't anymore?
Uh, correct correct me if I'm wrong. I think she left
Oh,
recently.
maybe. I don't
Recently. Recently.
recently. Yeah, I'll have to look it up. I have no idea. I thought that she was. So they've got somebody else installed in the job now.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. I don't remember the details. I don't I try, I try to just stay focused on my area and what I need to do, and I'm trying as hard as
Completely
possible not to pay attention to all the extra stuff
frivolous, full
I don't
of
need to put
yeah.
in my head. And yeah, it's the same with my personal life, like
I got you,
I
man.
can only take so much. I can only take so much.
Yeah. You know, I used to be I had the title of Chief Accessibility Officer at Vispero TPG, but it would I wasn't really there, but it wasn't the right job for me, put it that way. But um, because largely because I wasn't interested in being a chief accessibility officer, I was interested in doing the shit that I do.
Yeah.
So, but having said that, since moving to Tetralogical and being a director, co-owner of the company, I've had two things that I wouldn't haven't I've managed to avoid doing for many years, which is like sales. So I do internal sales as in inbound sales, but
Mm.
yeah, sometimes you got to do what you don't want to do. Well, not that I don't want to do it, but it's just, it's a challenge
Yeah.
at my age.
I hear you.
um, Next up, do you know who this guy is? I
I know
think
who that is, but I can't
is
place
his
the
name
name.
Snook?
That sounds right. His
Jonathan
handle.
Snook? I don't
Oh,
know. I saw his picture and I thought I've known this guy, but I couldn't remember his name, and then I couldn't be bothered to look it up.
I should know the answer, but I'm
I think
forgetting.
it is Jonathan Snook. You know as well as I
Oh
do.
yeah, Jonathan's. Okay, that sounds right.
Yeah, I mean he's blast from the past.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, majorly. The next person, I just random person off the street. Well,
That's a good
that is
guy.
actually who is the guy behind you? That's what I want to know.
Oh, I don't know.
He looks as if he was having the photo taken of him. That is a photo that is a that I took of you at Accessory TO in 2018.
Oh, okay.
I think it was 2018. Um, and then there's lastly but not leastly, there is Eric Bailey.
Yep.
And I saw Eric at Accessory TO last year, really enjoyed his talk. When are you coming to Accessory TO again?
Good question. Well, I was there a year and a half ago.
Year and a half? So 2 years ago, the second, was I there?
No, I
No,
missed
I
you.
was there last year.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
planning on going this year.
I think I was there the year before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, it was. I went to the first, 5 or 6 TO conferences. Then I missed a couple, and then I went back. I spoke for the second time a year and a half ago, and I was able to bring my wife that
Oh,
time.
nice.
Yeah, so we had a really good time in Toronto. It's a great city.
Yeah, I love Toronto. That's why I like going there.
Yeah, I
I
don't know when
mean,
I'll be back, but maybe next year. We'll see.
does GitHub do they support you personal development, like going to conferences and things, or is that
Uh, Not really. I have to well, sort partially. If I get I've like when I went to Toronto a year and a half ago, my talk what was my talk on? Design and cognitive accessibility or something. So it wasn't related to GitHub. But the conference, as it's such a respectable conference, paid for my way to go and to speak. And so my boss, he's like, fine, if they're gonna pay your way, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
So he'll give
That's-
me, time for things like that. And so it works out that way. Yeah. Otherwise, I haven't been traveling and going to conferences as much as I used to, because my boss and Maria and Carrie on my team, they do most of that, and they do a great job.
They leave you at home while they go and have fun.
Pretty much. Yeah, they just traveled to Seattle and San Francisco, and I missed out. But it's a lot of work. Like Maria,
Yeah, 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 of
Maria
course.
took over hosting a couple events, and yeah, it's a lot of work, and I don't. I don't have that kind of experience as far as putting on a whole event. So
Well, I remember that. Well, yeah, they're doing a whole event, but I remember that at XSVTO you were marketing for DQ at the time.
oh
Like
yeah,
you had a stand or whatever. I
yeah.
remember.
That's the reason I got to go that year. It's because
Yeah,
I had to be the marketing person in the booth. Like,
yeah. I remember I talked there a couple of years ago, 23, I think it was. It was 23 because it was just before it was my last event for TPG before I moved
mm,
to Tetralogical. But I remember there was the DQ people, marketing people in the room, and they were they were still talking about how Axe could now do 60 to 70% at the time, 60 to 70% of WCAG issues.
mhm.
At the same time that I was doing a talk debunking that whole thing. It was really interesting because, yeah,
Well, the thing is, I don't, a lot of people don't realize a percentage of what are you talking about, because there's two different things. What DQ always says to bump up the number is the percentage of volume, the percentage of
yeah, but
actually numbers
yeah,
of plugs. Yeah.
yeah,
So
but then they were basing their percentage of volume on 4.1.1 issues, which is the parsing issues.
oh,
So once you take them out because they're no longer, then even their number falls back to 30%.
really?
Yeah,
Oh wow. I didn't
I
realize.
32%. I wrote something about it. I'll point you towards it. It's just and all I did was I looked at their research, I took their numbers, and I took out the parsing. So anyway, but
Huh.
they still seem to be pushing this idea that they can do more than that. And I think it's very similar to how this the AI boon or whatever that
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
all the companies that have a product and like that, they have to do what they can.
yeah. Well, of course they do, but I mean, when I first started in 2002, 2001, I was the first um, time I did a talk was with Andrew Arch, who was my boss at the time, the guy who works in Topia now.
Mm,
But we did a research on automated tools. And at that time, 2002, it was like about 30%. And
mm.
then there was like 50% at least of the advice about, well, this could be an issue, but you never know. So you'll have to check it yourself. So, but being told that is it's just, noise really. In
Yeah.
the tools couldn't test things, but pretended they could, or gave the impression that they were testing something when they weren't. And then, I just think it's problematic to actually claim that you can test more accurately than you can. I mean, I'm really hoping that AI will come to the rescue, but I don't think. I mean, for some of the things where I wrote this article recently, well, a couple of months ago, 6 months ago, called "Mind the Gap, WCAG Gap." Mind the automation gap. Essentially, it was just looking at each of the success criteria, which parts are testable through automated tooling and which parts aren't. And I've been waiting, to get somebody to say, well, no, we can test this now with AI. Haven't seen any of it. I
Mm.
haven't seen, like
It's fishy. Sounds fishy.
Yeah, well, it sounds fishy, and that it'll like, remain fishy until there's runs on the board, and there's open source sort of code that explains how to do it.
Mm,
So, but I know that everybody's there's a lot of activity within the big companies trying to work on this issue. I
well,
read something.
I'm glad you wrote that article, though. I've helped boost it. So,
Oh, cool. Yeah, well, it's funny enough. I asked ChatGPT the other day. I said, "What's improved? Is there any difference?" Because I wrote that about a year ago or something, and it came back and said, "Well, actually, you were a bit overly ambitious with some of the automation." So it was basically telling me it seems to be now that it's got the word salad has got in its head that or it's got in its sights that you can't do it all, and so it tells you that, which is useful at least.
yeah.
Um, yeah, but when I get a chance, I plan on following up the article with that stuff. So I will. Well, that is the Rogues Gallery, Dennis's Rogues Gallery. You seem to get through it reasonably well. I've reduced the amount of people because it was just getting too laborious.
Yeah.
So,
I
uh,
did. I have watched a few of your chats, so I did get a warning about that exercise.
yeah, I don't know why people find it so laborious because it's not as if it's contingent upon anything. You
It's
know or
fun,
you don't know.
sometimes, like, I'll freeze up. Does that ever happen to you? Like, somebody asks you a
All the
question, you
time.
probably know the answer, but you're like, it's so obvious. You're like, ah,
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. That happened to me in I remember the first time I met Pat in person was many years ago, and also Eric Eggert I met. It was something in Germany,
Mm.
and I was asked about it was something we how would you use ARIA to do this, and I was thinking I just fucking had no idea. And if I know something, if I'm confident, then I feel fine. But throw me an off the cuff question, and I'm sort of like.
Right.
I mean, when I'm with a customer or whatever, and they're asking questions, if I don't know something, I'll just say, let me look into that. I'll come back to you. But you can't really say that when you're talking in a conference, so to
Right.
speak.
Right.
So, do you, again, I'm mixing you up with Paul J, but like, do you have a boat or anything?
A boat?
Yeah.
No.
No, because Paul J's the one that he has lots of big EVs, like um,
Oh,
SUV EVs. He
yeah.
seems to
He's got
like big
the
cars.
trucks and yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they're all electric vehicles though that he drives. I was actually thinking
Yeah.
about getting an electric vehicle. Do you have an electric vehicle or you got it?
Not yet. No.
Not yet. I was thinking about getting one.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a long time. I don't know. I might get my next car might be a hybrid, you know.
Well, I mean, I hardly drive, right? I mean, I drive probably a couple of times a week. I've had
Mm.
a car since 2017. I've done 30,000 miles. So that gives you an idea. So it's just, I mean, I don't know if I live close into London. There's a big shopping centre within walking distance. I live in walking distance of everything. The only
That's
time I use the car is to drive my girls somewhere really or go and do the shopping.
yeah.
But I was just thinking that I've got this car and I've had it 10 years, as I said, and it's in pretty good nick. I was thinking if I traded it in for a smaller EV, but the rub is that I have to get the infrastructure put in because I live in a block of flats, have to get the infrastructure put in
Oh,
to get the charging.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I was just thinking that because both of my daughters, neither of them has a license, but they both want to drive. And I was thinking, well, I'll just get a small car for them to be able to drive. So we'll see how that goes.
Get an EV, don't buy a Tesla.
I'm not buying a Tesla. It's the last thing I'd do.
That's
Somebody
good.
else said that to me. The guy downstairs said, "Don't buy a Tesla." I thought, well, why would I buy a Tesla? Yeah. Why would I do it? Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need to go there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So you are busy at home with family. What do you and you play bass,
Yeah.
guitar? What do you do? Like, do you go out and see pictures or the movies, or you
Oh,
go out and see bands?
yeah. Bands and traveling. My wife loves to travel, so we've been traveling a fair amount the last 2 or 3 years. We went to Sedona, Arizona.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a few months ago. That was pretty awesome. Um, do you know anything about Sedona? If
Uh,
you
is
fly
that a
into
tree?
Sedona, no, it's a town.
Yeah.
Sedona, it's a small town. So you fly into Phoenix. We rented a car and then we drove. It's like 2 or 3 hours north, like up into the. It's like the high desert.
Oh, okay.
It's up
Sounds
in the
nice.
mountains, like a high desert, like, and it's like
Yeah.
this um swanky, like hippie, like it's like expensive, but it's like it's a lot of like crystals and nature and meditation and hiking, like kind of stuff.
So it's yeah,
And spas and like things like
yeah.
that. Like it's pretty cool. Um, so we went there is one of the places, but the funnest part about the story is on the way home, we spent the night in Phoenix because we had a flight early in the morning the next day. Um, so I got this cheap hotel in downtown Phoenix, which when we first pulled it, we're like, oh my God, what is, it was like, it looked like a terrible hotel in a terrible neighborhood, but it ended up being actually fairly nice. And right across the street, the band Devo was playing in concert.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, what? And so my wife found two tickets, like resale tickets. I guess we
Yeah.
couldn't make it or whatnot. And we snatched them up and we went on a ghost tour because we like to do ghost tours. Um, and then we ran over to the venue right across the street from our hotel, and we went and we saw Devo in concert, and it was freaking awesome. I loved it.
Wow. Yeah, I like TiVo. That's some of my favorite songs by them. That's pretty incredible. I mean, I haven't been to see a concert for years. Apart from I went to see the Sleaford Mods with my daughter and her girlfriend, which they played in Brixton Academy, which is just up in town, and that was great. So yeah,
Fun.
uh,
Yeah, all these
considering
funny, like all these old '80s bands are like doing their last hurrah, and like they're
yeah.
before before they can't play anymore. You know, they've been a lot of them have been touring, so I was able to see a few bands that I've never seen before, and a couple for the second or third time. So we're going to
Oh,
see
that's cool.
this fall. We're going to go see Weezer.
Ah, Weezer. Yeah, yeah,
Well, they're '90s, but
yeah.
that was my wife and I when we first got married. That was we saw them in concert actually right before we got married, and so now we're gonna,
Wow.
23 years later or whatever,
A lot of
20
water got under the
years
bridge
later,
since then.
we're gonna go see him again. So yeah, that'll be nice.
Well, I saw that the Rolling Stones have released a new album.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, no, I'm perfectly serious. Well, come
Oh,
on, they're only in their 80s.
wow. Well, my dad's over 80 and he still rides his Harley. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
Oh, excellent,
yeah.
excellent. Um, I I'm running dry here of questions.
Okay.
Sorry, Dennis. I've been since last week. I did a chat with Robin Bergeron, and I've been off sick from work. I've
Oh,
had the worst fucking problems with my bowels.
I'm sorry
which
to
is
hear that.
yeah, but it's I'm generally better now, but
Okay.
it really took it out of me. So I'm a bit low energy, my friend.
That's all right. I gotta go get lunch and get back to work. But no, I appreciate you having me on the show. It's been great talking.
Thank you. And remember to have a look at the HTML because the Fireside Chats are sponsored by HTML. And
Ah, okay.
if anybody uses the code Piggy Trump, that's PIGGYTRNUMP, they get 20% discount.
That's
Well,
awesome.
yeah. So you
That's the
can
best
vote.
discount code I've ever heard.
Yeah, thank you. I'd, it took me minutes to think that up. Um, say hi to Carrie and your friends at GitHub, and hopefully I will see you at Sesame TO in Toronto.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
if not
you
somewhere
never
else.
know. Before you go, I wanted to ask you. So you used to have WebEx, um,
Oh yeah,
web overhauls.
we didn't talk about WebEx.
Yeah, I know, but you had WebEx, web overhauls, Dennis Lembry, Easy Chirp. You had all
Yeah.
those Twitter handles. They all gone now.
Uh I think they still exist, but they're
Yeah,
like archived or whatever.
but did you resurrected them on any of them?
On Mastodon, well, I do WebEx, I think on Mastodon.
Yeah.
Um that's it. So I have WebEx on Mastodon myself. That's pretty much it. And then I just
So you've got Dennis Lembry and WebEx. So what's the difference in content, or why have you got multiple accounts for
well
your own?
good question. WebEx still continues the web accessibility concentration. I try not
Yeah.
to stray far at all from that. So anything web accessibility, the tech, the design, the job listings, whatever. Whereas my personal account is more, it's a little more varied. So some personal stuff, but mostly professional stuff. But I try to do more like usability, like
Gotcha. So the different, yeah,
sustainability, supporting like sustainability and things like that.
yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
No, I just said, yeah. I mean, I was just always interested because I knew you had a number of accounts. I didn't know who was the real Dennis, but now I do.
I know, just kind of worked out that way because I started them all, at different
Yeah,
times. That's just how it worked. But
no worries, no worries. Dennis, look after yourself, my friend, and I will look forward to seeing you at some point in the future.
indeed, indeed.
Yeah,
All right,
you'll have to
Steve.
come
Great
over
talking to
this
you.
way, this
I
side of
know,
the
right?
pond. Yeah,
That would be awesome. Would love to.
I've got you. Do you know Hans Hillen?
I do. I do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's coming to visit me on Wednesday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's over in he lives in New Zealand, but he's over sees family in the Netherlands, and he's coming over. Happens
Oh,
to be on the hottest day.
I didn't know he lived in New. When did he move to New Zealand?
He's been there for years because
Oh really?
he got married to, I think he's married, but he's got a kid with a woman and called Asta, and yeah, she's from New Zealand, so he lives
Oh,
there.
I guess I
And
didn't never realize that.
no, well, I mean, it's just do you work remotely or you got to go in the office?
Remote. It's the
Yeah,
only way.
yeah, it is it is
Oh,
the
I was
only.
going to mention earlier. Yeah, like, so I moved to North Carolina from California like 10 and a half, almost going on 11 years ago. So
Yep.
I've had like the three different jobs, all remote. Yeah, all remote.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, remote's the only way. I mean, I've been doing it since 2006. It always sort of, I always got under my skin that I hear on the radio, the talk radio, and they were saying, oh, people should have to go back to work. And I was thinking, well, I've never had to go into work for the last X amount of time. I mean, why, I know why is because people that own offices were losing money. That's the reason why they'll try to force people back into work. But anyway,
Mm,
that's just my cynicism, I guess.
mm.
Um, speak to you soon, my friend.
All right, Steve. It's been
Okay.
real. Take care.
Okay, look after yourself.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.